is Jalen Rose. I'm David Jacoby. We are
What
Jalen
up,
Jacoby.
dog?
What is it that we
We
do?
give the people what they want.
It happens tonight in Tampa Bay. The NFL season kicks off with a huge game between the Bucs and the Cowboys. We will both be locked in on our couches watching this
Are
one.
you
What
ready
are you
for some
most
football?
interested in seeing tonight in the game?
Can the Tampa Bay Bucs start the journey to be a team that actually repeats? You return all 22, and we're going to talk about Tom Brady, and rightfully so. He's the face of the NFL. But they're loaded. You forget they have Leonard Fournette in the backfield.
Yeah.
How about Evans and Godwin on the outside? Adding O.J. Howard at tight end. Like, this squad is stacked. So it's going to be interesting for me to see how they perform each game. And Bruce Arians talked about this in the offseason, how this is now a team that has to find its own identity. Last year's team won the championship. Can this year's team go back-to-back?
Absolutely. They have so many weapons on offense, and you forgot to mention Ronald Jones will be getting the majority of the carries. But Jalen, the Cowboys are the most talked about football
Giovanni
team
Bernard?
because of Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott and Amari Cooper and all the weapons that they have on offense. When you think about Dak Prescott, before he got injured last year, he was basically throwing 400 yards every single game. Can he do that again tonight against this vaunted Bucs defense?
Not gonna be able to do it. I saw what they did to Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and they held them without a touchdown. Now, this is a new year, new attack, and I agree with you. The Cowboys will be explosive. You have Gallup, you have Cooper, but CeeDee Lamb is gonna be the key for me. And of course, you want to turn around and hand the ball off to Ezekiel Elliott. He can't fumble it 6 times this year. Hopefully, their offensive line can hold up, even though they were without their best left tackle in Martin due to COVID. So again, the Dallas Cowboys, to start this journey, we're going to gauge how much this game meant to them based on the result. If they get blown out, then it's not going to be a big deal to them. It's going to be like just one game, we're trying to figure it out. To the rest of the world, we're going to panic.
Oh,
but
yeah.
if they win, oh man, people are going to act like they the favorites to win the
Parade.
Super Bowl.
Yep. And I think Ezekiel Elliott is something that I want to see. When Dak Prescott went down last year, I really thought that Ezekiel Elliott would have a monster season. Didn't really work out that way, and there's something that's standing in his way that's going to be very difficult to overcome. The Bucs are not the second best run defense in the NFL. They're the best run defense in the NFL. Levante David, Devin White, and the linebackers with Sue and Vita Vea and JPP on the line.
Shaq Barrett.
They have such a good defense. It's going to be some tough sledding for Ezekiel Elliott and the Cowboys tonight. And I, like you, think the Cowboys, they should just compete. I just want them to compete. You know, like, I just want it to be close. Like, they're not going to win the game, I don't think, but I don't want to see them lose by 3 touchdowns. I just want to see them be competitive in this game, which I will be laser focused on my couch. I'm putting my kids to bed at 8 today. I'm getting rid of the kids. I'm locking in on the game. And Mr. Rose, one thing that we need to do is just celebrate the long legacy of a man playing quarterback in the NFL who is older than I am at 44 years old. Jalen, when you think back to his days at Michigan, almost a quarter century ago, what do you think about this picture, the legacy of Brady?
Of a man named Brady. There's going to be a lot of conversation about my fellow Michigan alum this year. And is he entering the conversation of greatest athletes in any sport of all time? But before we get there, it's only right I remind you guys of the journey. Y'all saw the combine picture. Y'all saw the 40-yard dash that took 3 days for him to complete with a huge shirt on that looked like it was a parachute. Okay, put that back up there.
Is he sprinting?
That's how
like,
Jacoby looks now.
Is he sprinting? Like, is that him sprinting?
He got a parachute on. And so, again, this is how you transform yourself from a 6th-round pick with Bill Belichick into a 7-time champion that went to the Bucs and won the Super Bowl his first season there. This guy is defying everything we know about physicality in sports with longevity at his age.
I think that one thing that people forget because they won the Super Bowl is it wasn't an easy road to the Super Bowl for the Bucs. Remember the fourth down on Thursday night against the Bears, and that game in New Orleans where they lost to the Saints by like 35 points. Like, this was a tough season for them, but now they're more comfortable. Like you said, they're bringing back all 22. The expectations could not be higher for this team, who's clearly the favorite to come out of the NFC. Another team that wants to compete in the NFC are the 49ers. In a tough division, they've got Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback. They drafted Trey Lance. However, Garoppolo is basically now saying, I'm the starting quarterback week 1. A lot of that has to do with Trey Lance's health, but what do you think about Garoppolo's future in the Bay this season looking forward?
When you're a Sean McVay or a Kyle Shanahan and you're an acknowledged offensive genius, you can have quarterbacks like Jared Goff and Jimmy Garoppolo take you to the Super Bowl and then give up on them shortly after. And that's what we're seeing here. Now, if you're Garoppolo, you're going to be a veteran because you know their core offensive thing that they like to do is actually run the football and allow their defense led by Bosa to be stout on that side of the field. And so for Jimmy Garoppolo is don't turn the ball over, and unlike the Super Bowl, make the key throw. Imagine how different the trajectory of his career would probably be had he made that completion in the Super Bowl and they would have gone on to win the game. So I know you're not mad at the QB rotation. I can't stand it. But again, this team is actually still built first off its defense because Bosa is one of the most dynamic players at any position in the NFL.
Fact.
And they're still going to run the ball.
Now, Jalen, I'm not going to let the fact that it has never worked in the history of the NFL get in the way of me celebrating this platoon thing that they tried in the preseason. Like, Trey Lance is throwing footballs again. He will be healthy. He won't be playing week 1 most likely. But, Jalen, I'm not going to let the fact that it's literally never worked in the history of the NFL before get in the way of me supporting this platooning thing that they are doing, because there are two different styles of quarterbacks. And if anyone can figure out, it is Kyle Shanahan. Trey Lance has got so much talent. We always talk about, is it too early to put a rookie in, or do we want the rookie to learn things? You know what? Put him in for a few plays. Let him execute some plays and then take him out. I support the platoon. I hope we get to see it in week 2.
You support drama. That's what you support.
Yeah, I like experimentation. Let's get weird. Let's switch it up every down. Who knows? Have the new quarterback running with the play every single down. Why not? Why not? Let's see what happens. We all know that the quarterback of the future in the Bay is likely Trey Lance. It's just a matter of time. But week 1, even though Kyle Shanahan hasn't said it, because we never know what's going to happen on Sunday. We might not be here on Sunday. Even though he hasn't said it, we know it is going to be Jimmy G. In the Northwest, we turn our attention to Portland and the Trailblazers, where there's been a lot of drama surrounding Dame Lillard, who's newly married. Congratulations, Mr. Lillard. And he put up an interesting post on Instagram to sort of like settle some of those rumors and drama. He said, "Back for more. Rip City is my city." Jalen Anthony Rose, what do the Blazers need to do to keep him happy, to keep him in Portland this season?
A lot of keeping Dame in Portland long term, other than the fact he's still under contract and you don't necessarily have to move him, and he's established himself as one of the best players in the league, is they're going to be judged by the end result. We had CJ McCollum on just yesterday, and he talked about how many years they made the playoffs as a collection, but he also talked about the number of injuries, in particular the Nurkic, that they've had to overcome. So now you change out Terry Stotts, you add Chauncey Billups. I think he's going to do a terrific job with their team, but ultimately, Dame's going to judge this situation by playoff result. Not a first-round exit, but being in a position to advance in the playoffs.
There's a lot of pressure on Portland to perform this season. There's a lot of pressure on new head coach Chauncey Billups to start hot, because if they start slow, you don't want to hear it. You know, like you don't want to start hearing about Dame's happiness or trade deadline, this and that. But one thing they do have this year, they didn't have last year, health. You know, they didn't have C.J. McCollum for a long stretch. They didn't have Nurkic for a long stretch. This team, healthy, is a much better team than what you saw last year. And one thing that Dame came on this program and said, he said he should be in the MVP. We said, why? He said, a lot of people don't watch the games. They don't see that I'm getting double teamed all the time. I'm getting double teamed at half court because C.J. McCollum wasn't in the game. When you have McCollum and Nurk, you can use those weapons to clear up more space for Dame, who's one of the best scorers in the league.
Jacoby, I think it's since 2015. Think about this when you're analyzing all of the top players in the game.
Okay.
Dame Lillard hasn't played with an MVP, a Defensive Player of the Year, a Rookie of the Year, a Most Improved Player. He's been that guy for his squad. So based on what you just said and the level of health of C.J. McCollum, who was having a terrific season before he got injured, Nurkic has to be the anchor. So many times I look down at a box score and I'm like, Nurkic giving me 20 and 12. That's great. I need more of this. And then it's triple singles sometime also. I'm going to need him to hopefully stay healthy and consistent. But let me tell you, with Chauncey Billups, a member of what we affectionately know as Bad Boys 2 in Detroit, is going to bring to Portland. They're going to compete defensively. See, that's been their problem. They can score with the best of them on given nights when they get on. They got to compete defensively.
That's what CJ said just yesterday on Jalen Jacoby. You can listen to that on the podcast right now. Mr. Rose, Andy Dalton.
Thanks for having me on the show, man.
I'm in the group text. Y'all didn't know it, huh?
Yo, I got 7 Knicks jerseys on.
I usually watch y'all while I'm on my elliptical. Today I'm there hanging out with y'all. Bong bong. Thank you, brothers.
You with the wrong guys. It's all good though. I guess you'll learn your lesson, right?
Yo, I be watching y'all every day. Y'all so crazy, man.
Coming to you live from the Seaport and brought to you by Chase. Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen Anthony Rose. Justin Fields is the greatest quarterback in the history of the Chicago Bears, and he hasn't even taken a snap, but he will not be starting week 1. Let's listen to Andy Dalton, starter of the Chicago Bears for now.
That's the worst thing you could do is look over your shoulder. And so, I think that's understanding that is key. About tuning out the stuff that you don't need to focus on and knowing where you need to put your time and effort and all that kind of stuff. I think that's just where I'm at, and you don't worry about all the other stuff.
Jalen, what do you think about the Red Rocket not looking over his shoulder?
You know us continuing to say Justin Fields is the greatest quarterback in the history of the Bears has a few people upset, has a few undies in a bunch by us saying that. But it's true. The Bears haven't had a quarterback throw for 4,000. They haven't had a quarterback throw for 30 touchdowns. He might do that this season. And let me get to Andy Dalton. You can never disrespect the vet, right? He did his work, in particular with A.J. Green with the Bengals. He is named the starter. But however, I'm old enough to remember that he played football last year for the Dallas Cowboys, and that didn't go so well. And they got a lot more offensive talent on that team than this team. So again, I applaud the fact that he wants to be looking straight forward and focused on the job at hand, but we all know his footsteps in there, Justin Fields. And I'm gonna tell you when it's gonna happen. I've been watching this movie for my entire life. They ain't gonna put him out there against the Rams. Put the schedule up there. Do we got the schedule? Put the schedule up there. I'm gonna tell you what they gonna do. They ain't gonna put him out there the first couple of weeks. They gonna put him out there week 3 against my Lions. That's what they gonna do.
Week four at home against the Lions is the perfect time to make Justin Fields the starter.
What do you mean perfect? What do you mean perfect?
Remember where you heard it first. You want to get Justin Fields a win in his first start. You're at home. You got the Lions coming to town. Get a division win. That is exactly the right time to start Justin Fields. It'll be week 4 against the Lions. And you remember that hit that Justin Fields took against the Bills when he didn't slide the protection the right way with a blitzer who was just absolutely unblocked? They're going to work out those kinks in week 1, week 2, week 3, watching film, getting him ready in practice, and week 4 against the Lions, he will be the starter, and Andy Dalton will once again be the backup. Moving on, Mr. Rose. Historic day Yesterday in Cooperstown, the captain, Derek Jeter, was enshrined in the Baseball Hall of Fame. What do you think about the legacy of one of the best to ever play shortstop?
El Capitan, Captain Clutch. And also, again, wasn't necessarily considered like the biggest power hitter. He was a slap hitter, and I appreciated that. A Golden Glove at shortstop, did it all in pinstripes as a champion, as a leader, as a captain, did it with his bat, did it with his glove, did it with his average, stole bases. Like, he embodied everything that you wanted from a teammate, from a champion, and for somebody that always handled themselves with class. And Jacoby, I played against him in basketball, AAU, high school years. He from Kalamazoo, and he'll tell you the funny story about when we played against one another and the conversation that him and his father had in the car after we beat him by like 60. It was time to focus on baseball, and he did just that. And he never looked back.
He's the all-time postseason leader in games, hits, and runs. Just think about that. He has more hits in playoff situations than any other player to ever put on spikes. Salute to the captain, Derek Jeter, who tormented me for decades as a Red Sox fan. Moving on, Mr. Rose. Pacers Twitter put up an interesting post yesterday that got some people talking, and your name was involved. Here is the post. Who's the first person you think of when you see this jersey? Jalen Rose, you obviously wore that jersey, but who's the first person you think of when you see that jersey?
That's love, and I appreciate them acknowledging me, the people on Twitter giving me shouts. Here's why. Because on my jersey, it has a finals patch, and that's the only time that franchise has ever been, and I'm fortunate enough to be a part of that team.
Well, there's one player that comes to mind not named Jalen Rose when I see that jersey. One player. Brooklyn's own Christopher Mullin. A lot of people associate him with the Warriors, but Chris Mullin still hitting threes in his old age in the pinstripes for the Pacers.
And shout out, big shouts though. I gotta shout Reggie Miller, Mark Jackson, gotta shout Larry Bird, Travis Best, the Davis brothers, Rick Carlisle.
Rick Smits.
You know what I'm saying? The Duncan Dutchman, Derek McKee, Heavy D. Shout to those Pacer squads. I appreciate the love I got from all of my teammates.
Jalen, we are just hours away from kickoff. 6 hours from now, the Bucks take the field against the Cowboys to defend their Super Bowl trophy. We have our predictions for this game right after this. Stay tuned. You're watching J&J. Back to Jalen and Jacoby, Jalen Rose. 6 hours from now, we'll be on our couches watching professional football. It is the Bucks against the Cowboys. The Bucks are favored, according to Caesars, by 8.5 points. Mr. Rose, against the spread, who do you have?
That's a lot of points, especially after I just spent 3 hours last night in my fantasy draft. I'm going Cowboys in points on this one. And I know you can't wait to see Ezekiel Elliott have a bounce back year. But you know what I can't wait to see? CeeDee Lamb hitting his head on the goalpost. That's what I can't wait to see. So that's my pick in tonight's game.
CeeDee Lamb does not get enough recognition for what he did last year, even with Dak Prescott out. I'm going to take the Buccaneers in a blowout just because I want the world to blow up with Cowboys tragedy.